Let me welcome all of you and thank you for all the help you guys have given to make this school possible. You and anyone else who's going to be listening to this from now on. And what I'd like to do is to introduce a few of the students who volunteered to be part of this. Why don't you guys first just tell us your names and where you're from?
Hi everyone, I'm Simon. I'm from Poland originally. Right now I live in the Netherlands.
Which is where you're doing your doctoral work?
What I'm doing, actually finishing my bachelor's degree and about to start a master's.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Hi, my name is Candela. I am from Argentina and I'm doing my PhD in Argentina.
Hi, I'm Delvin. I'm from Germany and also doing my master's right now in Heidelberg.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Hugo. I'm from Chile and I'm currently finishing my master's in also in Chile. I'm trying to get a PhD position soon.
Hello, I'm Ignas. I'm originally from Lithuania, and I'm currently doing a PhD in Cambridge in my second year.
Okay. So,
Oh, and a nice mix.
yeah, definitely. And this is fairly typical. We have this rule of no more than two students from any country. But in today's world, it's confusing. What do you consider a country? We have one student who is Egyptian citizen but was raised in the Emirates, and another who is an Italian but was raised in Egypt. So it gets very confusing. I want to ask, first of all, each of you, give me a little bit of a sense of what bit of science did you take away from the 4 weeks that you've had here? And I warned you ahead of time I was going to ask this, and I said, make it sound as technical as possible to let these folks know that we're really doing science. So whoever wants to speak up.
Yes, people say if you can understand it, it's not science, then.
Something like that.
No, my main motivation was so I've done quite a lot of work with James Webb data that had already been processed and packaged up nicely, and I wanted to learn more about the sort of nitty-gritty about how you get from what the telescope sends you to what you then can actually work with. So that was my motivation for signing up, and that's what I took away, both related to my field, which is processing data from the micro shutter array that's on the telescope to look at other galaxies, as well as something that I don't really work with, which is how to process data from exoplanet transits. But the techniques are very similar.
Anybody else who want to talk about the science that you took from
Yeah, sure. So I typically work in extragalactic astronomy. And typically I study the gas between galaxies. So very ionized like matter, like hydrogen and carbon. Not nothing very complex like molecules, but the things that I really loved about in the school was learning about this like whole organic chemistry that you can do on galaxies and active galaxies, and also protoplanetary disk, and the high amount of like organic matter and organic molecules that you can find like everywhere in the universe that I really had no idea that was even close to be possible, and that we actually have a much better idea of how life may have formed in the univerce.
Why can you use the web to look into organic molecules?
So
what does the web do that we couldn't do before?
yeah, so mostly I guess for what I have learned is that the wavelengths that the James WST uses for observations is much closer to the infrared than anything we can use on Earth, because here on Earth as we have the atmosphere, we can't observe that wavelength. So that's why it's important that we use the telescope on space.
Because our atmosphere is blocking the infrared.
Yeah, so we will lose all of that information.
Right, which may have something to do with why it's so hot in the East Coast this week, but we won't go there.
Yeah.
I know one of the things that I got out of the science was one of the talks from the guest speaker a few days ago. And we had, heard these reports, which I had a hard time believing, of maybe we found a chemical in the atmosphere of an exoplanet that was typical and indicating that there was life on that planet.
Whoa.
And I knew it didn't sound right, but I didn't know quite why. And they were quoting these, very strong, 5 sigma detection. Well, they were quoting it, well, they're 3 sigma, but they
were quoting as if it was
5 sigma. And the professor explaining this pointed out that, you can only do these calculations of how statistically good it is if you're comparing it against all of the possible hypotheses that would explain the data. And these guys were shading that a little bit. They were, choosing three things that nobody would believe and the one thing that they wanted you to believe, and said, oh my gosh, the one thing you wanted to believe sure looks better than the three things that nobody would believe anyway.
Mhm.
Seeing how those statistics could be fiddled, I found, very, very eye-opening.
Mm.
Yeah.
Other science?
In my case, I work in the theory of galaxy formation and evolution. So I wanted to learn more about what the James Webb is able to observe now. That is the formation of the first galaxies, which was some information that we didn't have in the past, and what the theorists expected from those observations was almost the opposite that they found. So now we are trying to make new models to explain those observations. So I'm working with a model that was developed by my supervisor, and it's like I think the only model in Argentina that tries to explain the formation and evolution of galaxies. So the coming to the school and learning more about these observations can help us to create a new version of the code that can explain the newest observations that we have.
I'm also working, so I connect with this, with galaxy evolution. So one part is in the universe, we have these supermassive black holes. When we think about it, it's destroying everything. But what we can see is that these really bad supermassive black holes have created feedback, and this feedback is the reason in some regions that stars forms. So we can see that something so huge with 10 to the power of 9 solar masses, so gigantic, and with many outflows just creating life. And that's something we can now observe with James Webb in more detail. And what's also really impressive is with all these really good teachers we had here, we had so many different new perspectives and also the new knowledge. So about like what Hugo said about all the different chemical compositions we can now observe. And before I never knew, oh, this is possible. So maybe I can now use this for my own research.
Good.
And
And
one
to
last-
me, habitability is the biggest question of my research, meaning if there is life in the universe and what makes a place possible to host life. So I came into the school primarily because I just wanted to learn about how James Webb can be used for these purposes, to what Baragay was referring to. That paper is also something I stumbled upon earlier. I have a bit more of a theoretical background. I'm a mathematician. So to me, it was a very good experience to, first of all, also learn how astronomers think about those things, because I focus mainly on the methodology, data processing, numerical simulations, but here I got to experience the more technical aspect of how to actually interpret the data and what it means. And to me, the most interesting part was also by the guest speaker that Baragay was referring to earlier, and he was giving a lecture on free retrievals, which is this relatively new technique of analyzing the spectra of exoplanet atmospheres, which allow us to determine what is actually found in those atmospheres. And James Webb offers an incredible window into that, which is really incomparable to anything we've had before, and it really gives me hope that, well, this paper was a bit disappointing in the result they obtained, and moreover, how they obtained it, I should say. That it gives me hope that in the next few decades, we might get a result that's a bit more robust.
Good.
Do you guys have any questions you want to throw at the students about the science?
Not about the science. I want to know if any of you got in trouble trying to communicate in Italian.
No, for me, I speak Spanish, so it's like very similar to Italian. And I was able to use Spanish, and it was more useful than English in my case.
Sometimes people here in Italy really like when people talk to them in Spanish instead of English. So for us, at least,
Yeah.
it was very useful, and it wasn't
Yeah.
that hard to communicate with them. So yeah, well, we still tried to learn a little bit of Italian, but it's only a month, so we did our best.
And I think Italian people are also I don't know how to put it nicely, but easily impressed by people trying to speak Italian. So I've heard, I maybe know like 5 Italian words, and I heard from one of the Italian students here yesterday that, you know what, I'm actually impressed by your Italian. You're able to have a basic conversation. I'm like, what do you mean? I just ordered pizza.
I learned how to order pizza too.
I think
And gelato.
the
Yeah,
most
gelato.
important thing that we learned here is to order gelato, because so one of probably from us all, one of the main memories we will take from the school, next to the super organization and the lectures, is the daily going out to eat a gelato or tiramisu. Because we have here in Albano really good gelato and tiramisu.
Gelaterias.
Gelaterias, yeah.
Right.
Unfortunately, it is healthy, so we can also get some physical activity while we're going to get there.
So I want you guys to think back 4 weeks ago. You were just arriving here. What were you expecting? And compared to that, what has surprised you the most that you were not expecting when you got here?
So maybe before we get into science things, one funny story I have is that
This is non-science.
okay.
Yeah.
So to me, like the funniest story is that I was coming here also expecting, oh, maybe I'd pick up some Italian. There are a lot of people who are native Spanish speakers. I actually learned a lot more Spanish than Italian, and I'm pretty happy about that, honestly.
Oh, that's one thing that you're surprised about. Anything else that you came here expecting and were
Yeah, my
surprised by?
my expectations were already high because I knew that this is the best school that you can participate when you are in your PhD. But it exceeds my expectations. Yes, very high. Because in my case, it was the first time traveling to a different continent. So I was surprised by everything, by Rome, by meeting other people from other cultures, and see that we don't have so many differences. And in astronomy, at least, the environment is very international, so it's very easy to communicate to all of us. Yeah, I made very good friends here. I don't know if it was one of my expectations when I came here.
Yeah, I also didn't expect it. So this is also my first school. So I didn't know, okay, how will be the contact between us students and the teachers? And with the relationship we built with the teachers is wow. So like with the one teacher, we went hiking. He joined us 2 times playing, football or soccer. And yes,
This is what Ichi?
Yeah. And we once went for a run and we got lost pretty badly. I went to some somewhat dangerous places, but he kept going with us.
Yeah.
We were very impressed.
Or spontaneous in the evening after the 8 p.m. lecture. Does anyone wants to join for tiramisu? And then all the teachers, yeah, why not? We love tiramisu. So that's really something. How everyone interacts with each other is so lovely. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
So I think something that really surprised me, apart from what you already said, was how the Jesuit community work here and how the observatory functions and how welcoming the community was to us. I think it was, and the organization with the school and with the observatory was just fantastic. And we were every day we were really happy to come here. We felt very welcome here. Like it was our home for like 20 years, so it was great. So yeah.
Well, I don't remember what I was expecting actually. It was because, my supervisor was also one of the teachers here, advertised the school pretty well. But I guess the thing that I enjoyed were the hiking trails available, like the ability to go the old Appian Way into Rome. That was a nice experience.
Walk all the way into
Yes.
Rome? Fabulous. Wonderful. We knew one fellow who walked the other direction, which when you realize you walked downhill.
Yes.
He walked uphill.
Yeah.
And it was the middle of the summer. That was an adventure when he did that. One of the questions I prepped you for ahead of time. What's the thing you're going to tell your family when you get back? The big thing that happened when you were here. What's the most exciting bit about being in Rome?
So apart from meeting the Pope,
Tell us about when you met the
I
Pope.
think I will tell them about just the wonderful people that I met here. because that was something that maybe I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting this like incredible mix of cultures from countries from all around the world.
Well, how did you get to
And
know some of the cultures?
what do you mean? So
What were there events, hint, hint,
Yeah.
that allowed you to really get a flavor of the
Yeah.
different cultures?
But so yeah, we had a lot of activities that we could and we could get to know a lot of these cultures. So for example, we have 2 times we had a lovely dinner where people from the students could prepare food from the typical foods from their countries. And they were amazing, and they worked for like the whole day on working on these dishes, and we really enjoyed that. And afterwards, we usually we had like dance classes, and
Yeah.
we had karaoke nights and stuff like that. So
When did you ever have time to do science? You just didn't sleep. That's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's
we were
Yeah.
very busy all day. Yeah, yeah. We're always active. We always have this recurring joke that we feel like we have been here like for 4 years.
You know, back in the day, astronomers had to stay up late to watch the stars during the night. Nowadays, we have all
Yeah.
this data, so we can work during the day and do other stuff during the night.
So what did the Pope say to you?
The Pope was very surprised when I said I was from Chile. He was like very happily surprised. So that was nice.
Okay.
I was surprised that the first thing I wasn't able to tell him my name. I shaked his hand and he asked me, "How are you?" And I was completely okay. That was not expected. And I'm fine. And you? And then I presented myself
Mhm.
and told him how happy I am to be here, and it's a pleasure. And he was also really happy about it. And I really enjoyed this, even if it was really short talk with him. But in this 10-15 seconds, I really felt how happy he is for all of us.
Connection.
Yeah.
Do any of you have good Pope stories?
And I had to tell him that Lithuania is not Slovenia, well, because he misheard. But
Oh.
that happens to me, like for some reason, with like in particular with English speakers, when they say I'm from Lithuania, some people mishear it as Slovenia. Maybe it's just I say it wrong. I don't know.
Plus, we have a student from Slovenia.
Yes. He then said that when he went up to the Pope and said he's from Slovenia, the reply was, Slovenia.
Finally.
Yes, I think that you can see my picture that I'm with a face of don't believe in the moment.
Right.
To me, it was quite lovely because if you don't know, Leo the 14th has a bachelor's degree in mathematics. So do I, almost. So my plan was that I'm going to tell him that in our department, we are very excited that a mathematician became Pope, which was true. And he laughed at it. So I can say for the rest of my life that I made the Pope laugh, and I'm very proud of that.
Well, the Renzo isn't here. He has the great story. He's the one from Peru. And he grew up in a little village in the mountains, so remote they didn't have electricity until he was about 12.
Wow.
And when he mentioned the name of this village, and the Pope goes, "Oh, I've been there. I know that area,"
Wow.
which, shocked him. But, you've probably seen the pictures of the Pope when he was, missionary riding in horseback in the mountains in Peru. So I think you guys made a great impression on him. Maybe they'll let us keep the schools going.
Yeah, today we had a visit from some other people in the Vatican government, and
Right.
they also mentioned to us that the Pope was very happy with the visit. So yeah.
I hadn't heard that, but who
Oh.
are you sitting with? With Sister Raffaella or?
No, I wasn't sitting with Sister Raphael. I was sitting with the Secretary General.
Okay.
Sister Rafaela said the same thing.
Okay.
We were outside with the sister directly after the group picture,
Mhm.
and then we had a little bit an informal small talk with her. Yeah, and it was that there she mentioned this.
We had an interesting group at lunch today. We try to get guests maybe 3 or 4 times a week, often the ambassadors from different countries. How many of you guys had ambassadors come? Yeah, 2 of you. But today we had Sister Raffaella Petrini, who is the president of the Vatican City State, and the
Wow.
Secretary General. So that was 2 people from there. And then we had Father General of the Jesuits, Father Arturo Sosa.
Oh, wow.
And his socius is his number 2 assistant. And also the fellow who, in the Jesuits, who serves as his delegate to essentially serve as the provincial for the Jesuits, us Jesuits. And we actually had an hour and a half chatting with him, with the three of them
Oh,
afterwards.
wow.
So when you guys were back doing work, we were upstairs. Basically, he wanted to hear how the school was going. So yeah, that was a fascinating conversation. But I hadn't heard what those guys. We split it up so that rather than having all the VIPs at a table talking to each other, we had one VIP per table. And in the classroom, we've got the Sala Clavius, named for Christopher Clavius. You guys should all know who Christopher Clavius is now and what Crater Clavius is. Crater Clavius, if you don't know, is the crater on the moon where the moon base was in the movie 2001. And which, of course, is a documentary, right? And that was 24 years ago. How come we don't have a moon base? They promised us a moon base by 2001. But he was also the one who, helped reform the calendar. So each of you had a different person. Who was at your table, in?
Secretary General.
And who was at your table?
Arturo.
Arturo.
Yes.
And who was at your table?
Oh, Secretary.
Okay. Secretary General.
Allora, Sister Raffaella.
Okay. So each of you had a chance to meet with these different people.
Yes.
So besides the Pope, what really memorable thing are you going to be telling your friends and family when you get back?
Well, apart from what I mentioned, I think what you remind me of the ambassador visits. So I was really pleased that my ambassador was really, really happy to be here, invited as a guest on here on the observatory. And she even invited me later to join the embassy there in Rome. So I was really happy that she was also really happy and very proud of me being here. So yeah, that was a fantastic experience.
I would probably tell them which parts of Rome to go to avoid the massive crowds of tourists, because basically if a location is not on the top 10 list, it's going to be almost empty. It's like most of the very nice museums and mausoleums and ruins of Roman villas along the Appian Way were completely empty or had like one or two people.
That's great to know.
Yeah. Go ahead, Delvin.
I will definitely have now many new recommendations of many different pastas. Because we really had every day a different kind of pasta, and I really love pasta.
How was the food
Today?
I mean,
in general, it's
Amazing.
really amazing. As we had every day here in the school, first every day a different kind of pasta. Then we had different kinds of salads, and after this, always meat with some vegetables.
or fish?
On Tuesday and Friday we had fish. In the evening, we were able to choose between, we eat the things that were at the leftovers from the lunch, or just go to a lovely local restaurant to eat some good pizza. We had some Indian food, we can go to other places to eat more pasta. Did you went to another restaurant?
We went also to the burger place.
Yeah.
And it's apparently somewhat popular among the Jesuits, because we would sometimes just walk in and then someone from the observatory would walk in and we'll be like, oh, Bob, nice to see you.
Billy Bob goes there regularly. He doesn't even have to order. He walks in and they know.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a very good burger place.
Yeah.
It was a good recommendation.
It's very odd to be in Italy and have a restaurant called Fortepaci.
Yes.
But it's not bad barbecue, it really does good food.
And to me, also a memorable experience was getting an interview with CBS News, the American television. So they expressed interest in the school and they wanted to share with the American people, I might say, what the school is, how it is going. So CBS Sunday Morning, I don't know when they're going to air it, but pretty soon.
They wrote to me today that it might be aired this weekend.
You see that? And you have to tune in. You can see and hear more of me and also of Isabella, the student from the US, and Brother Guy, and if I'm not mistaken, Brother Bob as well, right?
People they interviewed,
Yes. So that was a very interesting experience because I was assuming, I had some interactions in the media in the past, but it was always like something like, in the street where they just put up a microphone to you, and I was thinking, oh, it'd be more like that. But it was like they had a proper set. We had to walk there, sit in a chair. They had some like makeup to like make sure the light reflects correctly. I was like, oh my gosh, am I a celebrity now?
You haven't washed the white makeup yet.
So actually, to be completely fair, in my case, they told me I have really good skin for TV, so I don't need it. Yeah, but they had it.
Usually they tell me I have a great face for radio, but that's
I think generally that's me too, so I was surprised.
well, one of the other places we got to bring you guys, it used to be a tradition that we would take the students for a weekend in Florence. And when we started booking the hotels last year, the hotels were already completely booked. So we did
Wow.
something very different this time. Instead of putting you all on a bus where it would be 3.5 or 4 hours in a rotten bus to try, and then you get there, you're exhausted Friday night. Saturday, at least you could wander around, and then Sunday you're on a bus back. Instead, we got you on a bus, which got you very early, stupid early in the morning,
Yeah.
to the high-speed train that took us to
Yeah.
Florence.
Yeah,
We got to see the Galileo Museum, and then we turned you guys loose.
yeah.
And that evening took the train back. So I have no idea where each of you went. What did you see in Florence?
Yes, I think that was one of the favorite things that I did here was to visit Galileo House. So with Simon and Anna, we decided when we finished on the museums to walk to Galileo's house. So it was very incredible to see his neighborhood, and to be able to walk in the same streets that he walked. And it was very, very moving to see his house. Yes.
How long a walk was it?
15 minutes.
Yes,
Oh,
but it's a very
Similarly to what Ignas mentioned, it's not the most popular location in Florence. So if you walk there, you're the only person,
there's
and
no
you
one.
can take plenty of photos. The only thing limiting you is the cars that go along the road, but
Yeah.
they don't pass very frequently.
But you get very exhausted.
Yeah.
Where he lived while he was at working. This was not his final home, because that one I know is out of Trici, and that takes probably about an hour to walk there.
Ah,
But you can see where he was in prison. Really nice place.
okay.
Beautiful.
So next year next school you need to organize a Galileo hike where you go from the Galileo Museum to the other place.
Definitely, yeah.
That was the reason why the Italians didn't said to us, no, it's not worth to go there. If we're gonna visit the real house, we have to work a little bit longer. That's not worth. Let's go and visit one of the nice churches here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where did you go?
I think first we went all to the what was it?
Uffizi.
Uffizi.
In your pizza.
And
Most of us were.
yeah, I think kind of all of us visit this museum, and I think kind of all of us will spend there a lot of time because there's so many paintings,
Ceilings.
Yes.
and statues. So yeah,
You would be like 3 days there.
Yeah, so I think most famous painting there is Venus of Milo by Botticelli. Am I pronouncing the
Yeah.
name of the painting? And also Spring by Botticelli. So I think that's the most famous work you can find there, but also some work by Leonardo da Vinci. if I'm not
I have a
mistaken.
story about Jonathan Lunin, who's a scientist. He's now the chief scientist at JPL. And he came here many years ago with his son, who was just 2 years old. And he and his wife and his son, and so they saw the Venus. And this little 2-year-old is staring at this woman and staring and thinking, well, Joseph, what are you looking at? And he points to the painting and he goes, belly button, which does raise the question, why does Venus have a belly button? She was born from the side of the head of Zeus, but
Yeah.
Wasn't Venus born when the Kronos cut off the testicles of Uranus and threw them into the sea?
There
was
are two stories. There are two stories.
maybe she was born twice, who knows?
Oh,
Because
and
that's
when
the
you
origin of the
display, they
picture.
also have belly buttons.
That's also true. So what did you see?
So I also went to Uffizi, but for me the more memorable time in Florence was when I returned the next weekend because I was meeting a friend who's doing a PhD in Venice, and Florence is kind of halfway.
Okay.
And my friend's PhD is in history, but he's focusing on culinary history. His thesis is called Garlic and Onion in the Byzantine Empire. So he took me to a very nice local restaurant that he knew. And he knew the history of each dish, and we all did like so I had porchetta to share as a starter, then Tuscan style trippa, and the dessert was cantuccini with Vinsanto. So
Yeah.
and he knew about the history of each dish, so I think that was a very nice museum visit.
I have a friend who did her doctorate in history on the Medicis and lived in
Oh.
Florence for several years. And she pointed out to me her favorite gelato place, which is called Perché No, if you ever get back. And one school we ran into her and she gave this impromptu 45-minute lecture in the history of the Medicis. So I was like, how can you do this? Where were you when you went?
So I was also on the Galileo house, the
Okay.
Uffizi, but then with very little time, we had like 2 hours, I think. We made the genius decision of going also to the Galleria dell'Accademia. So we went in the Galleria dell'Accademia. There was like 45 minutes walk from the Uffizi gallery. So, and there was a lot of people and it was very hard to get in. But finally we managed to see all of the gallery and of course the David that's there from Michelangelo. So yeah.
The thing that
Amazing.
astonishes me is they have the model, the copy of the David, which
Yeah,
looks
on the
wonderful
plaza.
until you see the real thing.
No, and the real thing is just astonishing. It's
It is just
impressive.
astonishing, yeah. And I don't know what the difference is, but it's real. You can tell the difference. So when you go back to your home institutions and you talk to your friends and your colleagues, will you be recommending the school 2 years' time to, whoever you see there? And what will you use to sell it? What will be the thing that you'll tell, I have to preface this with a story. Years ago, there was an undergraduate and a grad student at the schools talking to each other. And the undergrad was asking the grad student, what is it like to be a grad student? What's the difference between being an undergrad and a grad? And she replied, well, when you're an undergrad and you go home for Christmas and your mom asks you about black holes, you'll say, well, they don't really understand them yet. But when you're a graduate student, you say, we don't really understand them yet. So what will you tell the undergrads 2 years from now when they see the school advertised?
That in the school is the academic part is excellent, but also they pay a lot of attention to the human side. So I think that's something that you don't find in other schools. And it's a very nice thing to meet people from different cultures, different countries, backgrounds, and to be able to make friends with them.
What would you tell them?
So I think I will, apart from what I just said, I think I will just tell them something that the faculty have said to us, because most of the faculty is actually alumni from this school, and it's that even if we haven't finished the school yet, I think that the school has clearly life-changing. It's a magnificent experience, like sharing with all of these people and incredible professors. It's just an impressive part of the world. It's unforgettable. So I will encourage everyone to play.
And
It's
the
amazing.
past attendees at the school have an excellent track record of success. So if nothing else, collect their signatures.
Somebody will be famous.
Yes.
Yeah, probably all the international connections we did know. So we know, for every continent, we knew, okay, there's someone. When I'm there, I can invite him, call him, whatever, and say, hi, I'm now in Chile.
Yeah.
I'm there, maybe I'm there for an observation. And then I'm there for 2 weeks. Can you help me? Or when I'm in Cambridge, maybe for some a lecture, course, whatever. Then I
Can
know.
I sleep on your floor?
Well, for example, I'm now invited to one of the other students. He invited me to his PhD defense in Tenerife. And I said, yeah, I have a place to sleep. Come over. So yeah, that's one thing I'm gonna do to 90%. He still does not have a date, still have to book the flights, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we met very, very good friends here.
Yeah.
Was there a sense that you were a little intimidated? I know the first time I traveled, it was all new and scary, and I hadn't done these sorts of things before. Now, do you have the feeling like you could go anywhere in the world and it would be, you're an old traveler?
Yes.
Of course, I was terrified by traveling before the school because I didn't know if I was going to understand Italian. But then now I understand that I'm able to manage all those things. Yes.
I was already seasoned sort of by conferences. I got to go to a lot of them in the first year to the point where I was sick of them because I'm giving largely a similar talk. I miss my fiance at home. And so the travel part was more like, well, taking a plane was more like taking a bus, particularly since it's the same continent.
Right, it's nearby. Again, we have questions now from any of you guys. This is your chance.
Not a question, but a commentary. The questions I had were already answered. And I just wanted to say, I think the most important piece for all of you has been not the culinary ecstasies of gelato and tiramisu, not primarily the intellectual exchange, but the experience of community.
Yeah.
That's what you had. And I think that's what you probably will take home in addition to everything else. The extra 10 pounds you put on and all the intellectual information you gather. You bring a sense of community. I think that's really important, particularly not only in your field, but just as a human being in this universe, you know? And I will just do a little plug for the Jesuits. I'm the diocesan priest, so I have no horse in the race. But I think the Jesuits probably provided a lot of that experience based on their own experience of community. So
Yeah.
congratulations, you had a wonderful time.
Did you guys get to meet the two young Jesuits who are also fellow students with you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Very nice.
John is part of us.
Yeah. They were
Yeah.
Rogers too.
And Rogers too, yeah, both are really completely integrated.
Yeah,
So
completely.
it's like
Yeah.
they're just same like us.
Yeah.
Sean
I
was
don't have a
like-
question, but a comment. Did you have trouble getting in the Uffizi?
No.
No.
Because
We-
last time the lines can be absolutely.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
booked the ticket, so it was really fast.
You can book it now. Everything's online.
Yeah.
No.
And
My
you book
my
a time
comment
and
is,
you just show up and they get you in.
you remember Lisa Marie Conti Brown in her home in Boca where you honored her,
Yeah. Right.
right? Okay, she's no longer the executive director of the Friends of Uffizi. She's the president
Oh,
of Friends of
Okay.
Uffizi. You just have to send an email to her. I've got 15 students coming up on their experience in Rome, going to Florence, and you'll go right in.
good. It's a very different experience from, the last time I was there. It's much easier to get in. You don't, except, well, it sounds like the academia, there was a long line.
No, the academia was it was a lot of time and it was a lot of trouble. The
Okay.
feature was very, very easy.
That's
Last-
much
Maybe we had a
organized
good
now.
time slot.
Yeah,
Because
maybe.
we booked our time slot really close to lunch.
Yeah.
So many people were probably in this time eating, and we then sneaked.
Maybe, but still the organization was very good, and in the Galleria dell'Accademia it wasn't that's efficient.
Okay. Other questions here? And if not, I'll end.
Thank you for the experience.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the
Yeah.
support.
Right.
Thank you so much.
If there's any one last thing you want to be able to say to not only the people here, but the other people who will be seeing this recording who, have helped to pay for the trip. Just,
It was really an amazing experience, quite wonderful to be able to attend, to learn so much, to experience so much. As you mentioned, the sense of community, the intellectual pursuit, the network, and I really appreciate the support, and I hope you continue supporting the school in the future because I want as many students as possible to get this opportunity.
Yes, in my case, that I'm from Argentina, we're very far away from the rest of the world. So I think that this experience showed me the world and showed me that I'm able to play with it and to travel to different places and to apply in the future to different countries that maybe in the past I thought it was more difficult, but now I know that I have a network, a group of people that can help me with that.
I probably would say the same things both of them said. I'm just really thankful for this opportunity to meet so many new friends. So not other students. These are really now friends, and I will remember the school for the rest of my life, definitely.
Yeah, same. I'm just very grateful for all your support for the observatory and the school because without any of it I would not be able to be here because the trip from Chile is very long, very expensive. So I'm just very grateful to be here. Thank you.
Right. Well, I mean, it's hard to say what others haven't said already, so I'll just say that I had a good time. And when I'm faculty, I hope to be able to send my students here too.
And maybe even run a school yourself.
Yeah.
That
Come
would,
back as
that would be a
Utopia.
Who knows?
When does the program end? Has it ended?
No, it ends Friday.
Friday.
So this is-
Safe
Oh,
travels.
that
We're
was
recording
quick.
this Wednesday evening, and Friday in the morning we'll have a graduation ceremony, and then in the evening we'll have a dinner at the local restaurant.
Oh, marvelous.
They
Well,
they
safe-
all start to fly out on Saturday, so we'll miss them all.
Yes, safe journeys.
Thanks to all of you people for your support and for being part of this, and see you next time.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us. We appreciate that very much.
This was a special treat for me.